So normally organizations treat cybersecurity down at the IT level, and the board of directors, the senior managers aren't really getting involved. Now what we're doing is actually suggesting that we need to bring the CEO, the board of directors into those conversations early on, actually having them be more accountable, giving feedback on what the business's priorities are, how the organization should approach cybersecurity from a much larger perspective than you have in the past. It's very similar to the way that you would approach financial risk, because there you're looking at big organizational problems, you're looking at organizational concerns and structuring your risk around those and your response to those risks around those. You're doing the same basic approach with cybersecurity. It's actually a broad cross-section of the organization needs to be involved. Your legal team needs to be involved. You'll have contractual issues that are there. You'll need to have your HR team involved. You should actually have, again, representatives from a broad cross-section of the organization. So trying to pigeonhole it again just in the IT organization is really a common mistake, and unfortunately it's a big mistake. So the communications process is really tricky. Trying to make sure that you have the right people involved is tough. A lot of times the CEO is going to want to be the one who's out front, and the minute that there's a breach, they're going to want to be out and making statements about it, and that's typically the worst response. There's also the common problem of trying to quantify the scope of the damages right away, and that's also a big problem. As we see with Equifax, as we see with a lot of the other organizations, you don't know what you have. You don't know the scope of the problems until much later, in days, weeks, months later, you're still finding out what issues there are. So having a senior person come out right away and quoting numbers tends to create a misperception on the part of the public as to the organization's ability to respond to these kinds of problems and their knowledge of what the issues are. And by taking a more measured approach, being more cautious in what you're saying, that really helps you get more control and have a better public opinion.